friends, welcome back to Kiki's Closet and to part 3 of our Black History Month celebration. Today we're chatting with 3 absolutely incredible writers. It's blown my mind that they're here with me today. I could pass out at any second, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to start the show.
Come on and come and play in Kiki's Closet today.
Please help me welcome my 3 amazing friends. Troy Anthony, Michael R. Jackson, and Doug Lyons. Hey everybody, welcome to Kiki's Closet. You have me left. Thank you so much for being with me here today.
She's Grace.
Yes, she is Miss United States, honey. I look up to all of you. All of your work is amazing, and I'm so excited to talk about your exciting career. The first question I have for all of you, what color is your heart today?
I think my heart is like a bright blue, like that new blue that they just discovered that has a brilliant PR campaign.
Fuchsia. I'm a little bright and snappy today. It's been a good day. So
Good.
I'm feeling alive. Like I've been outside. I haven't been outside in 4 days, but I feel like I have energy today.
Emerald City Green.
I love it. All right. I want to know your first memory of the magic of theater.
The magic of, this is a horrible story. I saw cats come through my hometown and there were kittens on the stage and I didn't know why or what they were doing, but I was intrigued. Like the lights and the makeup, like I did a production of West Side Story my senior year of high school and I wore far too much makeup, like a drag queen in like a 200 person auditorium. So I would say cats because I was just like, what is this mystical world? And they're dancing and they're singing and I didn't understand why, but it like bit me.
For me, it was at church. And when like Sister Lysidra Robeson, may she rest in peace, would be Mary and she put a bed sheet over her head and she walked down the aisle to the inn. They built a little wooden thing to be the inn where Mary and Joseph went to have baby Jesus. And like, that was the first exposure to theater that like, I didn't know that's what it was, but that's what it was. And just in general, going to church every Sunday was a very theatrical and dramatic construct because there was both the performance of like people getting up to say announcements or to sing in the choir, but then there was also the gossiping and the behind the scenes, stuff that was going on like with people in the church. And so I feel like that's where I learned about my first exposure to theater was at church.
My church was very boring, so I had none of that magic in my church. I dreaded Sundays, but I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more if I went to your church, Michael.
Maybe.
In the kind of same vein, we would do these kind of church plays. You might call them a stage play. Or there would be these like plays that would come through town that were like very much geared toward like a Black audience. And they were a little more over the top and they always featured a lot of music. My mom used to sing like in the pits of those musicals or she would be in them. So I would always go and then I was in a few. But those were really my introduction to the theater, the magic of theater.
What I'm hearing is that it's great that you saw representation of Black and brown people early on. A lot of people I find don't have that, opportunity. And, the shows that I was doing growing up that is about people of color and TV and film, unfortunately has, white writers and it's being told through the lens of a white creative team. And it's something that, we're moving past now, but I'm wondering if you felt a similar frustration growing up and if that helped inspire you to start writing yourself.
Well, I guess like for me, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. So like I was like around a lot of I was around Black everything all the time. But like within that, I was exposed to things across the spectrum, whether it was like, I grew up around quite a lot of Black writers, there were white writers, like I read, like I consumed and saw everything. As far as like theater stuff, one of the first Broadway style musical that I saw was the revival of Showboat came to Toronto in like 1994 and it was the Hal Prince revival. So it had all the scope that you saw on Broadway. And I remember I was 13 years old or 12 years old and I saw it and it like blew my mind. I just had never seen something that was just so well put together like that. And then we saw Phantom of the Opera that same weekend, and I was like, I don't understand what this is. But Showboat, that was for me. And then but then shortly after that, my family went to see the production of the musical Raisin, which is the musical adaptation of Raisin and the Sun, which is a Black musical, but it is written by white writers. But the thing about it is that the writing of it is, I think because one of the book writers, it was married to Lorraine Hansberry, it's so sharp and so incisive. The way that it like embodies a sort of interiority about Black people, I just knocked my socks off when I saw it at 14. And so I wasn't trying to be a musical theater writer at that time, but it definitely became like a standard for what I thought work could be. And so I think that by the time I got to musical theater, I was like, I want my stuff to be as good as that. And because I was always, you know, exposed to like Black things, it wasn't like, it didn't really matter who wrote it. It just was that it inspired me, and that I was gonna take, you know, whatever stories I wanted to tell and try to have it be at a high level.
Being a writer was not something I like trained or expected to do, so it sort of fell into my lap organically. I was not a theater kid, so I sang in church. I went to dancing school, didn't have acting training until I went to the Hart School. So I didn't grow up in the theater. I grew up in the Black church. So all the musicians I knew were Black people. You know, all the singers I knew were Black people. I had a piano lesson for like a couple of weeks when I was like 12, and she was a Black woman. She's like, "Are you rehearsing?" And I was like, "I'm not, ma'am. I am not." She's like, "Okay, well, this is a waste of time then." I was like, "Okay." So like, I didn't grow up with that perspective or dream, but I think when I realized Polka Dots taught me that I could represent and inspire Black children to dream beyond what the American theater is giving them right now. And I was like, if I have any writing talent, I'm gonna try to give to that. I'm gonna try to be a part of that movement. So I feel like I was called to it, but I didn't really know the backstory of what writing was or who was writing what necessarily, you know, Black, white, Asian, whatever. I didn't know, which I think protected me in a way because I went in sort of blind. I was like, I feel a passion to tell stories now with a pen.
I grew up also with kind of like an array of like exposure to the arts. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and was also a member of this boys choir. It was like a bunch of Black boys from the west end of town, which is where all the Black people lived. And we were called the West Louisville Boys Choir, and we were modeled after the Boys Choir of Harlem. So I was singing a lot of like classical music, like as a boy soprano when I was young. I was also like singing at the church. My mom was singing at church and was the minister of music. And then she started this all-women's like gospel group that used to rehearse in our living room. And I was like their secret weapon, because I would come out at 8 and be like, "You're not singing that right." And that's the only reason that I even knew that I had like the gift that I could like hear and like teach parts. But I didn't think about writing. It never dawned on me. Someone I was collaborating with at the time came up to me when I was like playing and singing somebody else's song. And she was like, "Do you write?" And I was like, "No." And I don't know why it never occurred to me that like writing was something that I could even do. But now that I have that, I just try to really root it in the things that I know. I know a lot about like community practice, stories that I grew up with that I care about. And I think the thing that I'm trying to do as a writer more is just unapologetically like say whatever it is that I feel like I need to say without thinking about how people are going to receive it. And if I can create a container for people to live in that feels interesting for the people like making the thing, I'm like, if we have fun, that means everyone else will have fun. Or if we can ask questions, everybody else is going to ask questions. So that's kind of my perspective. But I'm also a young writer. Like I've been writing now for like 4 years or something, or 5.
Well, Troy, what was so cool was watching your concert at Joe's Pub right before the world shut down last year and seeing a stage full of performers of color and bringing your music to life. Now, I'm wondering, over the last year, when the Black Lives Matter movement has really taken center stage, has that made a change in your relationship with writing within the white gaze?
100%. I think I've become a little bolder. I was already pretty bold, let me be very honest, just as far as like what I felt like I should and could say. But now I just don't give a fuck like about what anybody has to say about like what it is they think I should be doing. And I also have realized I have a singular point of view, as everybody does, and that I don't need to conform because of how I think people will receive something or if I think it will be commercially viable. I am allowed to create what I feel is important to create. And honestly, I've been inspired by like the two other people here who I also feel like unapologetically say what it is they think they need to say. And even like two very different points of view, I admire just like wholeheartedly being like, this is what it is.
Now, Doug and I met when I was a reader for his musical Beau, which if you haven't listened yet, please do. It is absolutely incredible. It's currently my gym bop. Running is unbelievable. But you've also performed on Broadway in the Book of Mormon and Beautiful, and I saw you in pageant.
Oh my God.
As on top of writing so many wonderful new pieces like Polka Dots, like you mentioned, and new shows in development like 5 Points and Chicken and Biscuits. But what has been so cool about watching your journey, Doug, is that I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you often manifest things. I remember you saying like, I want to write for TV, and then the next thing you knew, like you were writing for the reboot of Fraggle Rock. And you and your writing partner just made history today, being the first musical theater writing team signed by Pure Music. When did you form this mentality about the business and believing in yourself and putting what you want out into the universe?
I was raised by two people who made that the mantra. So I don't know anything else. I'm technically an only child, and they had me do everything. I played soccer, tennis, basketball, baseball, and I always had to finish, whether or not I loved it or not, because they wanted me to finish what I started. So my mentality has always been like, but why can't I? It's just always been that way. And I think without even knowing it, that became my workforce and my energy. And it drives me, like it pushes me. Because talking about the white gaze, I didn't grow up with the white gaze. I grew up with like black people. So I didn't know what that meant. I only knew what it meant to hustle on your own. And just even when I was in college, before I was a writer, like at 19, I went on the Rent tour because I was auditioning between classes, and like I just had a drive about me, and I think that has stuck with me. So I don't know, personally, I think manifestation is important. I think words have power. Like even being in this space with two other black male writers is a beautiful thing. It's something very rare that we get to do in this business. I feel like we have more power as artists than we know, and this past year has taught us that when the theater is shut down, like, what do we do? Like, who are you when the thing you love so much isn't there? And I think for a lot of us, it's proven like we're strong and we're awesome and we're capable. And so when this thing is over, like, I hope we can all hold on to that.
Now, Michael, we have to talk about A Strange Loop, the new musical that you wrote the music, lyrics, and book for, and it won the Drama Desk, the New York Drama Critics Circle Award, the Off-Broadway Alliance, and the Pulitzer Prize for Drama.
Hello.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
No, I didn't get to see in person, but I've been a fan of the album since it came out, and I got the script and read it, and I loved it. And one scene stuck out in particular to me was when Usher is trying to shop his show around, and he keeps on getting rejected. This should be more quiet, it's too loud, or you need to make this more accessible for a white audience. Did your own experience getting A Strange Loop up on its feet and produced reflect Usher's journey as well?
I mean, I always tell people A Strange Loop is not autobiography. I mean, I did draw from personal experience to write it, so I always prefer the term self-referential. So like in my experience, no one ever told me that I needed to make A Strange Loop more palatable for a white audience. But like, that certainly was a perspective that I'm aware is out there depending on who and what you're working on. And so that for me was more than anything, just putting that in the stew of all the kinds of feedback that one might receive as a Black writer or theater writer in particular.
I just have one final question for you all today. What advice do you have for young Black and brown writers who want to find a place in this business?
I would say find the people who also like to do what you do and surround yourself with them. Find people whose taste that you really love and trust and put them in your circle, and make sure that you have people around you that will continue to encourage you and that will be able to reflect back to you what they see. So surround yourself with mirrors who will propel you to continue to follow your dreams.
You don't have to fall into the system. There's not one way to be successful in this business. and it'll feel like there's one way, but there really isn't. And like, flock to the people that believe in you early. Don't feel like you have to play the game or like rub the elbows if it does not suit you. My recent like mission is like, what do I want to say? Who do I want it to reach? And how can I get paid to tell that story again? Like, that is the mantra for my career. And if it lands on Broadway or not, or off Broadway, it's like, I'm not caring about that. Is it reaching the people that it was intended to reach? And can I pay my bills? Then we'll have a good life. So really focus on what you want from the business, not how you have to fit into the business.
Yeah, I would just encourage writers to get in touch with what their dreams are, on what the stories they want to see on stage, and to get really intimate with what questions they have to offer to audiences and to themselves. I'm of the mind that I'm more interested in your questions than your answers. I would encourage young writers to really dig deep for what their questions are and put that into their work, and to show people what they see and challenge them and thrill them and entertain them in that way.
You're just everything you said is just so inspiring, and I really do feel honored to be in this virtual room with you. And thank you so much for being with me here today. And I hope our paths cross when the world reopens. I'm wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Come on and come and play in Kiki's closet today.